In this video, I'm going to make a cover out of a chopped off Leuchtturm cover. And I'm going to use the technique that I've been experimenting with lately, that is gluing used up tissue paper that's been bled out so it doesn't have much color in it anymore, glued onto pages of old-fashioned handwriting. The goal is to make kind of a paper blanks cover, you know, the kind, maybe you don't know, but there are books with old writing on them. I don't know. If you've seen it, you know. It's very beautiful, and I'm trying to emulate that. So the first thing I do is to remove the sort of plastic covering. The top layer is quite plasticky, and nothing sticks, at least not my kinds of glue. So I removed that, which means I basically have just a piece of cardboard left from the Leuchtturm. So you might wonder, why am I not just cutting down a piece of cardboard? Well, to begin with, I am bad at cutting stuff. It gets wonky. I'm not much for measuring. So this is actually easier for me to do. And the other thing, I want to use because this is a gutted book where I used the insides for my planner system setup, and I do want to use the covers. So this is one way of doing that. And now I am gluing the sheet with old handwriting on it onto the piece of cardboard. And it is coffee dyed because I thought I would be using it in that state, but I don't know, it turned out very grey, so I don't like it that much. So actually using other colours on it is better. And I am folding the edges in, as you can see, because that protects the edges of the cover, because it gets banged up. You put it in your bag, you lug it around, and it gets scuffed. So that's one way of protecting the edges. Next step is to use some washed out tissue paper like this. I have used this to ink pages in my books, my journals, and as you can see, perhaps, I hope, there are different colors on it. There's some green at the top, I think there's some yellow in there, and some blue. The paper was blue to begin with, or like turquoise, but it bled out, and I used other colors on the same pages so that it stained the paper, the tissue paper. But that's actually good. That's one of the things I really love about this, because it gives it sort of texture or interest. So I'm using PVA glue mixed with water. I suppose you can use Mod Podge because that's basically the same thing. And the goal is to not have air bubbles, but wrinkles are okay. That's actually one of the reasons I'm using tissue paper at all, because I like the wrinkles. So I'm not too bothered about that. And I use the glue water mix both underneath and on top of the paper, because it is quite thin, so it gets fragile when it's, when you glue it onto something, it becomes very fragile and it's easy to sort of rip it. And now I have moved on to inking the cover with Ecoline watercolors, some kind of turquoise bluish color. And you may well wonder, why am I inking it when it already has some color? Well, you could leave it as it is, but I thought it needed a deeper color. I think I'm going to use it for a winter journal, so I want it to be just, darker. But that's the thing with crafting and journaling, that it's a process, and you may start with something that is inspiring and that you like the look of, but then you build on it and it becomes something completely different, and that's okay too, because you might not have been inspired to do that if it hadn't been beautiful to begin with. So this is something I'm really struggling to learn, because I feel I dread ruining my stuff, but you have to ruin things in order to create. Destruction is a part of creation. I really believe that. I am using tissue paper to blot up excess acrylic color now, which is another way of creating beautiful papers that you can use in some other project. So yeah, I really try to reuse pages that I've had for protection behind other pages, or that I've used to blot up color, because one, you waste a lot of color if you just throw it away and color is expensive, and you get these patterns and gradients and stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise, because it's random, so you don't have to think. It just turns out that way as a kind of bonus. As I said, I'm using acrylics, and I started with cyan. Is that the way you say it? And I didn't quite like that, so I blotted up most of it. Now I'm using a darker color. Let's see what it is. It's Prussian blue, which I really like. I put it around the edges to make this really dark night sky looking frame for the whole thing. And after that, it's time to varnish it or put some kind of lacquer on it. And I'm actually using this lacquer that's supposed to go on wooden walls. We bought a lot of it a few years ago because it was on sale and we haven't used it. So I use it in crafting, obviously. I like using up stuff and not wasting them, so this is perfect. And it gives it a really thick layer of, well, and this sheen, I don't know, it deepens the colors beneath, and it protects the page underneath, and yeah, it's all around win-win. So I'm just spreading it with a brush, and that's it. And they're done. They're dry. And I have discovered that this one is upside down. The text is upside down because it's supposed to be this way around for the elastic to go around the front, which means, it's upside down. I could just pull these out and not have elastics. I could remake the whole thing on another piece of cardboard. I could just not give a damn, because who looks at the back, because I do want the elastic. I could have this as the front and put the elastic around the back, but I'm not sure I would like that. It's, you've got the motion in your hand to do it the other way around. So the only question besides that is whether to put it on my used journal from January and February this year, or if I glue them onto next year's February book. Should I do that? I'm sort of leaning towards that, which would mean that I cut this off, or maybe keep the piece of paper, the sort of cardstocky paper, and glue that onto this one, not upside down this time, like that. And then, well, not the back because it will be glued onto my back book, so it's only the front that can be fixed. Now, you know, I don't know. I'll decide some other day, but I do think they turned out quite nice.